All right, let's dive into something really fascinating. We're about to unravel a linguistic puzzle that trips up millions of English learners. And it's a problem that's rooted deep in language, culture, and even how we think about time itself. But the best part? The solution is surprisingly simple. So, let's start with this question. Think about two super common English sentences, I eat and I am eating. For a native speaker, the difference is obvious, right? But for so many learners, especially native Arabic speakers, this is a huge, persistent roadblock. The real question is, why? And this slide right here, this shows you the heart of the problem. In English, we have two different ideas. I eat, which is a habit, and I am eating, which is happening right now. But in Arabic, both of those ideas often get mapped to the exact same phrase, ana akul. So you can see how the confusion starts. When two English ideas get squeezed into one Arabic phrase, the wires get totally crossed. Learners just see them as the same thing, and that leads to mistakes that are incredibly hard to unlearn. Okay, so to really solve this, we need to get a handle on two key grammatical ideas at play here: tense and aspect. They might sound kind of similar, but trust me, they do very different things. First up, tense. This is the one we all know. Tense is super straightforward. It just puts an action on a timeline. Did it happen in the past? Is it happening now? Or will it happen in the future? For Arabic speakers, this is familiar ground. Their language totally gets tense, so this part feels pretty intuitive. But now, here comes the curveball, aspect. Aspect doesn't really care when something happens, it cares how it happens. Is it still going on, like I am eating? Is it finished, like I have eaten? Or is it just a habit, like I eat? Aspect is what adds all this rich, descriptive texture to time. And it's a layer that just doesn't have a direct equivalent in Arabic grammar. And that right there is the cognitive hurdle. When we try to teach a sentence like I am eating, we're asking a learner to process two things at once: the familiar idea of present tense, plus this brand new kind of abstract idea of aspect. It's like asking someone to learn to juggle while riding a unicycle for the very first time. The brain just gets overloaded, it defaults back to what it knows, and ends up treating both English sentences as if they mean the same thing. But get this difference isn't just about grammar. No, it goes way deeper. It's about the very different ways that English-speaking and Arabic-speaking cultures have traditionally thought about time itself. This table breaks down two completely different worldviews. So English developed in what's called a monochronic culture. Think of time as a straight line. It's a thing you can measure, save, and spend. It's why being on time is such a big deal. On the other hand, Arabic grew up in a polychronic culture. Here, time is way more flexible, more like a flowing river. Relationships and events matter more than a strict schedule. You can already start to see how these different clocks would build two very different languages, right? So it makes perfect sense. A monochronic world needs a language that can precisely chop up time to say if something is happening now versus already done. But in a polychronic world where context is everything, the language can just let the situation do the talking without needing all that extra detail built right into the verb. And what's really wild is that English wasn't always like this. This whole complex system of aspect, this texture of time, it was actually bolted on over centuries as the world changed. Just look at this timeline. If you go all the way back to Old English, around 450 CE, it actually worked a lot like Arabic does now, mostly just tense, and you figured out the rest from context. But then, fast forward to around 1400, and you start seeing that B plus ing form pop up. The whole complex system we use today, it's pretty modern, really. It wasn't even standard until the 1700s. So why did the language change? Well, because society changed. As England moved toward farming, trade, and eventually the Industrial Revolution, it just needed new tools. All of a sudden, you had to write a contract that was crystal clear about whether a job was being done or had been done. Grammar basically evolved, just like a piece of technology, to meet the complex demands of a new world. So putting all this together, the grammar, the culture, the history, it all points to a really clear, powerful, and frankly, much smarter way to teach English. The solution is just beautifully simple. You teach in a way that aligns with the learner's brain. You start with what they already know. Tense. First, you teach the simple present, then the simple past, then the simple future. You build that solid foundation, and only after they've mastered that timeline do you bring in the new, tricky layer of aspect. It's like building the house before you start painting it. It just makes sense. And you can see the difference this makes.
The traditional way of teaching, throwing tense and aspect together from day one, it creates a huge cognitive load. That's the high bar you see on the right. But the tense-first approach, it just dramatically lowers that mental weight. It works with the learner's brain, not against it, which means less confusion and much faster learning.
And this all brings us to the biggest takeaway here. This isn't just about finding a better way to teach grammar. It's about realizing that the grammar of a language is really the blueprint for how a culture sees the world. This quote from the researcher Brahim Salem really just says it all, doesn't it? When you're teaching an Arabic speaker the English progressive aspect, you're not just teaching them a new verb form. You are literally handing them a brand new way to organize reality, a new way to conceptualize the flow of time itself. At the end of the day, what this all shows is that language is so much more than just a list of words. The rules, the structure, the grammar, that's the hidden operating system that shapes how we see and describe everything. Learning a new language really is like learning to see with a new pair of eyes. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. If mastering a new piece of grammar can fundamentally change something as basic as how you perceive time, what else can it change?